Hi. No. Um, Hi guys. Welcome, welcome. Wildcats East High. Hi guys. I can't wait for Larry to come on. John, just stay here for 1 second so I can see. I'm going to be welcoming today Larry Saperstein, Big Red, from the amazing series, which I just binged completely, which is called The Series. So we're waiting for Larry to come on, but I wanted you guys to know that, Larry, when he was much, much younger, he did a couple of our workshops when we were out on Long Island. Are we connecting to Larry?
Is it working?
Hi. Who am I? I'm hearing somebody, but I'm not seeing.
Why is my camera?
Oh, it's Larry. I don't know, Larry. Hold on. Do you want to hop
Yeah, I'll
off
try
and
one
try
more time.
again?
Hold on.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So I'll let him request to join my live. For sure, you can ask questions in the comments below because we'll have a moment to take questions when Larry gets on here, for sure, at the end of our little chat. So just hang tight, everybody. My name's Jessica, by the way, and I am the artistic director of A Class Act New York, the acting studio based in New York. And actually now we're virtual, so we are all over the world. Let me see if Larry is coming on once again. Larry, hi, you guys. Larry can send me, if you couldn't hear me, send me a request to join my live. So we're going to be joined soon by Larry Saperstein, Big Red, from High School Musical, the series. That's quite a mouthful, right? On Disney Plus. An amazing show, which I literally binged and watched it all. Here we go. Connect. Send request. Come on, Larry. I hope Larry can get his camera working today. But in any event, you guys, hang tight.
There we
There
go.
we go. Hi.
Awesome. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I'm happy to be here too.
So Larry, thank you so much because I know you're busy and you're filming and you've got a lot going on. Just obviously, everybody who's watching knows that Larry is Big Red on High School Musical, the series on Disney Plus.
I am.
Larry, by the way, I have to say, amazing performance.
Thank you.
So natural. You brought, you bring like levity and comedy to, to so many of the episodes. And
Thank you.
It was such an enjoyable and such a natural performance. I really loved it.
Thank you. Well, I can't wait for everybody to see. There's so many more amazing, like, funny things that are coming down the line. So I can't wait for everybody to see them.
And if you guys have seen the whole series like I did, I binged it. Literally, I'm 49 years old, Larry, and I enjoyed every minute of it. This show is not just for kids. I can tell you that much. It is. I loved it, and I'm an adult. I thought some of the cool things that you guys did on this show made it more sophisticated, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like, kind of when you do the confessionals, like on The Office, when you talk straight to the camera.
Yeah.
Those were great. Those were great moments. It's really well done. I love it. So
yeah, that was one of the things, like, Disney had never really done something that of this style before. And so during the first season, I just remember us being so excited to, like, explore this new, genre almost of, like, TV for Disney. And it was really cool to find the balance of, like, making it more mature while also keeping it light and fun. And so it was really cool to kind of discover that as we did the first season. But I do feel like, we've kind of figured it out. We've really figured it out this year. And so I can't wait for everybody to see it.
I can't wait to see season 2. I have to say that the writers did an excellent job of making it, more progressive. I love that. I love that, Nene has 2 moms and, Sharpay is played by Seb, right? The character of Seb. So I think that's so cool how progressive, Disney is taking some chances because it's so not Disney in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the writing is excellent. Really, really good. Really wonderful. So congratulations on all of your success. I have some questions for you.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's been years since I've seen you. You did some workshops way back when you
I
were out
did.
on Long Island, and we were doing a couple of workshops out there as well. So congrats on everything.
Thank you.
Now you're an adult. So tell us, what has it been like being a part of this, this iconic franchise of High School Musical? What were you thrilled? Was this something that you watched as a kid? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, when we were shooting the first season, like I just remember walking into the high school. That was like within our first week we were shooting in East High. And I just remember walking in and seeing the cafeteria was like, it was one of the first things I saw. It was like right there as you walk in from the entrance of the school. And it like really hit. It was like, oh, we really are here doing this thing.
Yeah.
And then honestly, like one of the coolest parts is like filming it here in Utah,
Mm-hmm.
where all the movies were filmed,
Mm-hmm.
in the real school. The biggest part about being part of the family isn't always so much like the Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens of it all. It's really like the crew of
Mm-hmm.
our show. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them, like for example, one of our first ads, he was like a PA on the original
Oh,
High School
wow.
Musical, and then like worked on all three movies, worked his way up, and now he's like a first AD on our show.
Can you
And so,
explain what first AD means and PA for the
yeah,
folks out there who might not know?
the first AD is the first assistant director, so they work with the director and they sort of run the set. They sort of say like, we have 5 minutes until we go into this, shot that we're trying to do, and the actors can take a break, and all that kind of stuff. They're in charge of running that. PA is a production assistant, so they're sort of the entry level position, and then a lot of times a PA will work their way up to being a second AD, first AD, and so on. And so it's just really cool to see how it really is a family here in Utah, and like that was really the biggest part of it all. And then on top of it, like we got to meet Lucas Grabeel, and we got to meet Monique Coleman, and who else? Corbin Blue. Like I'm that.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's some really amazing people that have just been part of the family, and then just like that fan base has crossed over, and so many awesome like Broadway fans love our
Yes.
show
Yeah.
because of the theater background, because of our executive producer who's an amazing like Broadway guy. And so that's been like the really cool part, is like now being like a year into it, and
Mm-hmm.
of course all of the pandemic craziness aside, like being a year into it, it's so cool to see like all of the people that have crossed over and like
Mm-hmm.
started to love our show and build
Mm-hmm.
this new fan base that's really centered around theater more so than like High School Musical. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It is complete. I mean, it's wonderful. There are so many rabid theater fans now, which is great,
Yeah.
because when I was growing up, it wasn't as maybe popular with a wider audience. So now you're
Right.
taking this show has it all. I mean, it's got comedy, it's got drama, you deal with some serious themes like divorce and
Yeah.
parents moving on and and moving around the country and always being the new kid and all of these things. And then and being gay and out in high school, all of these things are important themes that you guys cover, but you also have the beautiful sort of musical theater,
Yeah.
whole world covered. So I just love it. It really appeals to a very wide audience because of that.
I
And you
think,
have Miss Jen.
yeah.
Is I mean, did you see something right? Did you happen to see her in
I
something?
did. I actually I saw her when I first met Kate. I didn't even realize like who she was, and then
Mhm.
about like 2 days after knowing her, it like really hit. She mentioned something, and I was like, oh right. And so Something Rotten was one of my favorite shows, and I
Me too.
saw it like the original cast was still like part of it, and my playbill has Kate in it, and it's just incredible that now she's like almost like a second mom. After 2 years of friendship, it's just like insane, and she's such a Broadway, really like a Broadway legend, and she's I think just so perfect for the part, because she's not like somebody that has had like immense stardom from the Broadway
Hmm.
community, but she's somebody that like has been in 17 Broadway shows or however
Right.
many, and like
Right.
really knows like the hustle and the job, and she's like, I think it's a masterclass every day with her. Like just
That's so
incredible.
cool. She was hysterical in Something Wrong. I thought
Yeah.
that was literally one of my favorite shows of all time as well.
Yeah.
So okay, so tell me, what was the audition process like for High School Musical?
Yeah. So my audition process was kind of crazy because I was actually the last main character
Mhm.
cast in all of the, the whole puzzle of it all. So um, I know that Josh was cast like earlier on, and he was announced sort of like in October of like 2018, I guess. And then
Mhm.
I wasn't hired until January. So it was like a few months where that was sort of like the casting
Process.
block.
Right.
And my process was a little crazy because I was in New York. So I had my very first audition in New York, and it was just like every other audition, it comes in and you're like, oh, this is cool. But as I started to read it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like this
Right.
is
Right.
I love this character. It feels very me. It feels like I can do something with this. I love the premise. I love the docu-style. I've always wanted to be in a sitcom, and it's a sitcom about musical theater. Like it was
Right.
all just like, and
Right.
High School Musical. Like it was all very cool, and it
It's
seemed like
everything.
very fresh and exciting and very witty. Um,
Yes.
and it was so I was immediately excited, and so I did my first audition, and then I actually went down to Florida the next day to visit my grandparents. And I got a phone call. I was there for maybe 20 hours. And I got a phone call that was like, hey, is there any chance that you could be back in New York tomorrow to do a callback? And I was like, I don't know. I'm here in
Right.
Florida. I can try. Like, is there any way that they can do something online? Like,
Right.
what is the situation here? Is it like really serious?
Right.
And my manager was like, I'll check. And so she hangs up, calls me back like 15 minutes later, and she's like, "It's really serious. They really are looking at you, and if you can get there, get there."
Right.
And so I was with my grandparents, and I was like, "What do I do? I came down to visit you." And my grandma was like, "Are you kidding me? Go
Right. Right.
home." And so we like looked at a flight. I found like there was like a budget airline flight for like $45 or something
Oh my God.
crazy like that. And so and it was like 4 p.m. and the flight was at 7. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, so let's eat lunch and go to the airport. And so then we turned around and went back to the airport, and I made it home. And I drove in. I actually had to fly back to Long Island, and then I drove into the city the next day, even though I had my apartment and stuff in New York. But the flight was like to Long Island, so I went back
Right.
to Long Island.
Right.
And drove in the next day, did my callback. And then a couple days later, I got another call that said they wanted to fly me to LA to do a screen test, or like a chemistry read with Josh, who plays Ricky,
Mhm.
my best friend.
Right. Right.
And so then I flew there. It was like a Wednesday. Did that. Flew back on like Thursday, and then and then when I got home, they were like, "We'll let you know in 10 days." And then they called me like 2 hours later,
Oh my gosh.
and
Oh
and,
wow.
and they were like, they were really kind of down to the wire because then I had like the weekend, and then I had to be back in LA, and then I came back to New York, and I had like the weekend again, and then I had to be in Salt Lake to start
Wow.
shooting. So it was really like,
A whirlwind.
I think it was like from the time that I got the call that I was cast to like coming to Salt Lake to start filming was like a week and a half or something like
Oh
that.
my
It was
gosh.
ridiculous.
So,
But
so your grandparents were like, "See, that was worth it."
yeah, it was worth it. And then we did a big trip like after we wrapped the first season. So it was
Nice.
all worth it.
So worth it. So worth it. Such a great role, honestly. So how did you go about creating the character of Big Red?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I love about TV work, and this has been my first time really experiencing this, but
Mhm.
I've noticed that like maybe not every show is like this, but definitely with our show, I've noticed that as the show starts to go on and the actors start to like be more part of the process, and we're all sort of becoming this big family, things start to be written that like really speak to us as people. And
Okay.
like there's certain things like the tap dance, for example, at the end of the first season. Not for any spoilers, but it's been out for a year, so I
Right.
think
I was gonna say. I was like,
I
shut
think I can
up.
talk about it. Um, that was something that was really added like once I was cast.
I was wondering. Yes.
They saw that I was a tap dancer, and they were like, "This is incredible. Let's like focus on this and highlight this.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only person that has that. Like there were some amazing like Gina moments where she's a dancer,
Mm-hmm.
and Sophia Wiley is this incredible dancer, and so that was added. Like Ricky playing guitar, like Josh can play a guitar amazingly. So like those kinds of things were added
Mm-hmm.
because this show very specifically needs that kind of energy, and it needs that kind of like raw talent, and anything that we can bring to the table is very often like added to the show because it's exciting when it's like true and genuine and real.
Right. And we could take what these actors bring and maybe write like a plot about
Yeah,
Nick.
exactly.
So I'm excited for season 2.
Yeah, so there's
I
mean there's even more of that. But then, you know, just in terms of like creating Big Red, I think one of the awesome things about this is I got to go on the journey with him of somebody that is discovering theater for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, at the very start of season 1, he doesn't know anything about theater and he doesn't want to. And so, you know, going all the way to the end of season 1, where now he has this like hidden talent and he's a performer at heart, was really exciting because I got to sort of relive some of my own memories of like falling in love with theater and learning, you know, this new thing. And I think also what was really exciting was it was my first like big TV job. So as we were going along, you know, I was learning how to be in this environment, and I could take
Mm-hmm.
those experiences and like really bring them into the show. And you know, we're all of us are that theater kid, so it's not too much of a stretch.
Right, right. Now tell me, so if this was your biggest TV gig that you'd ever had to date, was it a little bit intimidating when you first wound up, you know, when you first showed up to set on the first day? What were your feelings before you stepped onto that set?
I think so. I mean, I think it's still a little intimidating. I think like we always want to be doing a good job. You know, that's
Mm-hmm.
like our main concern is like, how do we, you know, bring the best that we can bring every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think like going into it, that was my main focus. Like, how can I just bring the energy and bring the
Mm-hmm.
like excitement to the show? And I think we were all of the actors and the producers and like we were all just so excited to be doing it, and there was really something very special about that first pilot episode, because it was like, yeah, we're doing like this is High School Musical,
Right,
and
right.
so really just I mean I think there's always nerves, but like it was more so just like really getting into it and like the excitement of it, and yeah, and now like knowing what I know, and I can see how much I've grown as like someone who's comfortable on camera and someone who like knows how to stand on his mark, and like all those things that I've learned over the past 2 years is really like cool to look back and think about.
I know you had a lot of theater training prior to this and you'd participated in a lot of shows, but again, did you have any on-camera training, or, you know, what was your on-camera experience?
Yeah, I had done before I did the show, I had done like a few indie movies and like
Mm-hmm.
a handful of commercials, and so like a small guest spot on a smaller TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So I had definitely, you know, I definitely knew what it was like to be on a set. Just this scope and like being a main character and being on set almost every day is like was a whole new moving somewhere new for the job was like
Right.
a whole new thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was more what it was. And yeah, I mean it is kind of ironic because I started with like my theater training and I started with like my tap dance training, but
Mm-hmm.
now I guess just how I look and you know who I am, I think I've always sort of wound up getting more like on camera work. I'm not totally sure why, but I'd love to, you know, continue
Would
to do theater
Yeah, do you want to one
eventually.
day, do you have dreams or aspirations of being on Broadway someday?
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, and that's one of the things that I'm so grateful about with this show, because I think if it was like a sci-fi drama, you know, I don't think that I would be able to really plant that flag for myself and be like, I really want to do theater. But because this show is so theater based, I think it's a very easy transition.
Yes,
And
that's true.
I think people would be excited, you know, to see me in a Broadway show. And
Absolutely.
so yeah, I mean, but like theater was my sort of like first passion.
First
Uh,
love, yeah. I
yeah.
would say that that makes sense. Like going, what happens to a lot of actors, at least back in my day, you kind of got stuck doing, if you were on Broadway, you kind of got stuck there and you
Yeah.
didn't necessarily know how to transition into TV and film. But now with your show, especially because it is a musical, that it's awesome that you can make that move much more easily, I would think. So tell us about, um, you know, so since you're sort of a role model for young performers out there, or even, performers my age, what advice do you have for people about the business of show business?
Um, you know, I there's like so many things that are that people will like tell you. I think for me it was always just about like staying true to the things that I liked to do because those things will help you. Um, One of the things that our producer says a lot is like everything that got me made fun of in high school gets me paid now. Is something he
Right.
says. And so like in a lot of ways it's really true. Like I you know, I loved being a tap dancer. It was like my favorite thing, and I loved being part of that community. I
Mhm.
never knew how all of those pieces were going to fit together. I was always like, well, I'm an actor, but I also went to college for theatrical design. So I was
Right.
doing something like totally different in college, and like that's a whole other story. And like I didn't know how all the pieces were going to fit together. And then like a show comes along where like I have to be this redhead kid that is becomes the crew guy in the show, which is what I
Right.
did in college. And then also they're willing to add in my tap dance background. Like
Right.
it something will like fall into place, and the only way that you can get there is by like really being true to the things that you love. Because if I loved tap dance, but if I was ashamed of it, like I
Hmm.
might not have posted the things on Instagram,
Hmm.
the tap dance videos on Instagram that the producer saw and loved, or like all those different things really play into who you are and like what makes you unique. And like, yeah,
So follow your passion, and then something will come of that. Like if you follow what you love,
yeah,
would you
yeah. And
say?
I think the other thing that I've learned as like a true professional is like just because you don't get a role doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you did a bad job or that you are bad. It
Yeah.
just means that you didn't get that role. Like it just
Right.
means that for that particular, and that was something that I always tried to learn as I was growing up. Like your talent and whether or not you get cast in a show are like two completely different things. You
Right.
wouldn't be in the room auditioning if you didn't have the talent to be there.
Right.
And so
Right.
like that is one of the things that I've sort of learned too. And especially being in the show has really taught me like, oh, I do have that ability. I do have that talent. And I don't have to, you always should be working on your skills. But like
Mhm.
I don't have to have anxiety about my skill set when I walk into an audition. I just have to focus on the audition.
Right.
And if I don't get it, then I don't get it. But it doesn't mean that I was bad.
Right. I think so many people don't realize how many, how many factors there are that go into whether or not you get a role.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has to do with height, or like you said, like hair color,
Yeah.
things that are
Exactly.
really without, that are not within your control as an actor. So
Yeah.
just do your best. What do you do, Larry? Like, what would you say you do after an audition? Let's say you really want a role, you really want that role. How do you leave that audition behind? Like, just, you know what? What do you do after an audition?
Well, one of the things that I always remember from when I was growing up, and this was more in the theater world when there was like open calls and stuff like that, but I had a dance teacher that used to say, make lunch plans for
Okay.
the day that you have your audition.
Yep.
So, like, if your audition is at 10 a.m., make lunch plans for like 1 p.m.
Great.
Uh, and if you have to cancel the lunch plans because they wanted to keep you and they wanted to see you, like see you do another thing,
Right.
that's better. But if you they don't, then you at least you have lunch plans.
Right. Right. I
Which is
love
like,
that.
which maybe in this world is a little bit different, but I think the mentality is kind of the same. It's like an audition is just one part of your day. Right. Like if I have an audition, especially when I was in college, this was like a huge thing. It was like I have class in the morning from 9
Right.
to 12. And then I have an audition at 1. And then
A
I have to like
professional audition because you had your manager since high school. Explain
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually had my manager since I was 10. So
We should say
I've been
hi to Judy right now. If
yeah,
Judy's
hi
there, we love you,
Judy.
Judy.
We love
I
you.
know your manager.
Um yeah, so I've been with them a really long time. So I was doing professional auditions all through high school and start of college and stuff like that. So um yeah, I that was always like the thing. So like I had class in the morning and then I would go do an audition at 1 and
Mhm.
um then you like go back to school and you have other stuff to do. It's just
Right.
like it's it's the whole auditioning is a full-time job kind of mentality which always kind of stuck with me because it really is.
Right. And you have to just keep going, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if something doesn't happen, you just got to keep going. So, and I'm so glad that you did, that you had that perseverance, because this is a wonderful role for you, really.
Yeah.
So, who, I'm sure people out there want to know the gossip. No, I won't go there. But who are you close to on set? Do you have, I mean, aren't you a little bit older than the rest of the people who are in high school, right? Are
Yeah,
you,
we're actually all pretty close to the same age.
you are, okay.
We're except for the two younger girls. They're a little bit younger than us,
Okay.
but the rest of us are all like really within the same, very similar age.
Okay.
So that's really nice because we've all had like birthdays and we've all had like and especially with this year being as crazy as it has been and us like being away, and while we were away we were like zooming every week and
Oh,
checking
wow.
in with each other and then coming back and we happened to be here over the holidays, and so like we did Thanksgiving and we did like a Christmas Eve kind of
Just
thing.
like on the show, you did Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that it's been really nice to like be able to be a family because we are like very similar
Right.
in age. I think like just like any family, you go to different people for different things. Like
Right.
I'm close to everybody for a different reason and in different ways. Like if I want to go on a hike,
Right.
Nat is a great person to go on a hike with. If I want to like go out to dinner, like you know,
Right.
maybe it's Kate. If I want to hang with a 3-year-old toddler, like I'll go to Kate's house and like so I think there's different. I think everybody recognizes like everybody has a different
Hmm.
thing that is really great about them, and that's like what a great friend group is.
Yes, absolutely. And you guys will be friends, I guarantee, for the rest of your lives. Because I think these are very formative years when you're in your early 20s or mid 20s,
Yeah.
or even late teens. Those are very formative years. And you guys will always have this experience to look back at and share these memories. So, I can speak from experience because I'm an old lady. But uh, my friends that I made when I was your age are my friend, those are your friends for life, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so that's so cool. And you're right. I mean, there's so many, it's a big cast full of a
It
lot
is.
of young people. So that's really unique also,
Yeah.
that you have that on this show. Sometimes on shows maybe you're the kid and you're, mainly with adults, but on this show you get to be with other people around your own age, which is really cool.
Right.
So what made you want to pursue acting as a kid?
Wow. Well, so my mother is a music teacher.
Okay.
She's a public school music teacher,
Very
and my
cool.
dad used to do community theater. So we would always do like the community theater shows.
Hmm.
Um, when I was really young, my dad did a production of Working, which is like a review musical about like different careers. It's very 90s.
Yes.
And so we, my dad, there's a number that's like fathers and sons is like
Hmm.
the idea. And I was like 3 or 4 and they wanted me to like run on stage, like into my dad's arms. And so it was like my first on stage experience. And I remember like really having fun, like being there, not just the idea of like being on stage, but it was just like sitting backstage and
Right.
watching everybody, rehearse and making sure everybody was in their right place. Like I remember that energy. I loved
Hmm.
it. And then I started to do dance class when I was like 6. I think just because I had a friend that was doing dance class and I like wanted to do dance class with her.
Right.
Um, and so I did that for a little while. And then a few years later, I started like really performing because I played Winthrop in the Music Man. So that was my like first like role.
Right.
And I already knew how to tap dance a little bit, so I did like a tap dance thing in that too. Um, so yeah,
So you grew up around music and around theater. You kind of
yeah,
grew up in that environment. Not in
yeah, and then like when I was 10, I think I did a production of Oliver at the Engelman Theater in Northport on Long Island, and so that
yeah,
was like regional theater, and there were like people that were that had been on Broadway that were
yeah.
in the show. Michelle Dijon, now Michelle Breckenridge. She had played Roxy Hart on Broadway, and now was like our Nancy. And I'm still like in touch with a lot of those people. And so that was like the real big thing, because that was also like a big group of kids, and we're
Right.
all like excited to be the orphans, and then after that I sort of told my parents that I wanted to do it, and that's when I started looking for management and stuff like that. And then
Talent does run in families too. So
yeah.
I firmly believe that it seems to be the case. So you grew up around it and you naturally had a gift for it. And then when did you realize you were a talented dancer?
I don't know, never. I don't know. No, I don't know. I well, so I didn't start being serious about tap dance specifically until I was like 12-ish.
Mm-hmm.
There was this place called the American Tap Dance Foundation in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to the choreographer from Oliver. His name is Vic DeMonda. He would teach a jazz class at Alvin Ailey.
Mm-hmm.
And I was too young to take the class, but he was like, if you come, I will sign you in. Like, I will give an exception, because I think you had to be 16 and I was like 12. And so he was like, you're too young, but you're ready to like do the class. And so I started doing that like every week for a little while. And then when I was at Ailey, there was like an advertisement for American Tap Dance Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had auditioned to be like in their company, or to be an apprentice, because they needed more boy tap dancers. And so then I was doing both for a little while, and then I really started to gravitate towards the tap dance stuff, just because it was, I don't know, I was also a musician, and so I was like in jazz band, and then a lot of the music was based in jazz, or the tap dance was based in jazz, and so that was really cool. And yeah, it was just like a great like mod podge of all the things I like to do.
Do you have a favorite tap dancer, like a famous person that we might all know that you look up to?
Well, there's, I don't know. I think like one of the amazing things about my training was like we really had to study different dancers. I was always compared to like Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, which I think is great because of how fantastic they are. But I think like the people that I in recent years have like really gravitated towards are like some of the more contemporary dancers. Like there's this really wonderful tap dancer who has her name is Michelle Dorrance, and she has a company called Dorrance Dance, and they do like this incredible like really kind of dancey stuff where it's like counterpoint and rhythm, and it's less theatrical and more like contemporary dance, which I just always find very fascinating, and I love stuff like that. The challenge most recently has been like finding my voice, and like what is my tap dance voice, and who am I taking inspiration from to create my own unique
style.
Yeah, exactly. So that has been sort of my journey, my tap dance journey in the last like couple of years, because I have gotten to know so many amazing like historical tap dancers. Like there was a wonderful tap dancer, his name is Harold Cromer. People should look him up if they probably haven't heard of him, but if they should look him up, because he was really amazing. And I got to like meet him and learn one of his dances before he passed away. And people like that are really sort of influential in the tap dance community, or just like the history. Like I never got to meet Gregory Hines, but I've got, of course, because he passed away when I was really little, but people that studied with Gregory, you know, I
Right.
I got to learn from, or people that studied with, you know, Buster Brown, or like some
Right.
amazing like people. So yeah.
Super, super. What was your favorite moment of filming so far?
Hmm.
Or maybe just from season one, since we
Yeah,
haven't seen
I was gonna
season
say
two yet.
actually one of my favorite moments just so far. We've done so many. I like really can't say it, but like we have done so many cool things this year
Okay.
that people are going to freak out over. But season one, I don't know. There's a lot of like awesome things like I mean I want to say that the tap dance, just because that was so cool to do. Like it was very surreal to be tap dancing with like cameras and people wanting to see my skills. But
And then you ended the entire season. Like
yeah,
that was so cool too.
yeah, but I think as far as like fun,
Hmm.
was probably that Thanksgiving episode. Was really I tend to gravitate towards that, just because it was so cool. It was like it was a party. Like we
Hmm.
never. It was the first kind of thing where we did like a party scene. Excuse me.
Hmm.
Um, and it was really like a party. Like we were really sitting around the couch, and they would like move the cameras, and then we would fool around, and then they would like move the cameras again, and we would like fool around again. So it was like really cool to be, you know, in that space, and to sort of be reminded like, oh yeah, we're all like friends, and it's not really like, it's not always acting. Sometimes it's just like the truth, you know?
Right, right. And you're all in this together. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Okay. Sorry about that. Just had to do it. Um, okay. My next question for you is how do you keep your creative juices flowing throughout a pandemic? I mean, I
Yeah.
know you're still filming, so you get to be creative still. But
Yeah.
how has that been? I mean, tell me about shooting during a pandemic too. Like what's that all about?
Yeah. Well, the first question. So, we one of the things that has been hardest for me this year was like, I am a dancer, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I love to do is tap dance, and that was really kind of taken away from me,
Mm-hmm.
as like the pandemic has been going on, just because I love going to class and I love dancing with other people.
Right.
Um, and for the time that I was in New York, it's things have opened up a little bit more now that I've been here, you know, working. And so in the time that I was in New York during the pandemic, there really wasn't anywhere to go. Like you really
Mm-hmm.
had to be inside.
Right.
Um, and I would try to do it as best as I can, but I didn't have like the right floor, and I found myself getting very frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
with like tap dance, because of the tools that I had available to like actually dance.
Right.
Um, and so what I started doing was I decided I was going to learn how to play piano. And so
Oh,
that
cool.
was my, everybody's different, but that was my like quarantine activity for like the
Mm-hmm.
first 4 or 5 months of like learning. And I've actually like kept up with it. I have like a piano that I purchased like right there.
Wow.
And I try to play it every day, if not like every other day, for at least like a half an hour or something like that.
Wow.
And then I also, for the first half of the pandemic, I was still, doing school stuff. So I had that to focus on, because I was doing like online classes and stuff. Um,
Were you still in college? Wait,
yeah, well,
give me the
yeah. So
timeline.
yeah,
Were
so
you in
I was
college when you were filming High School Musical?
not the first season. The first season I took the time off, but then I went back in the fall, and then I was doing online classes
Right.
already in the spring when we came back to do the second season, and then the pandemic happened, so then everyone went online. Um, so I
Right.
still had some of that stuff to focus on. I wrote like a little script and stuff like that, but piano, obviously piano is my main thing. And then yeah, being here has been really great, because there's dance rehearsals, and there's, you know,
Right. You can.
classes, and or not classes, there's recording sessions, and
Do you guys rehearse a lot? I mean, I would imagine you have to do quite a bit of rehearsal because you have to learn choreography. You have to learn,
yeah,
you know, just so tell me about your show in particular. Do you guys
yeah.
rehearse?
Well, not every episode has a huge dance number. So sometimes like sometimes there's periods of time where we don't have anything big,
Okay.
um but yeah, so like they work in the dance rehearsals like either on a weekend day, or you know, if if it's a weekday and like we're not shooting that day and there's someone else shooting, like they might split us up and do like half and half or whatever. They have a crazy scheduling, you know.
Right,
but
right.
you know, but yeah, but there it is. Our choreographer is Zach Woodley, who choreographed Glee. So he does some amazing stuff with us.
That's awesome. In terms of rewrites, I know that on sitcoms very often there's constant rewrites, and the writers are there and they're constantly rewriting jokes if they don't land correctly. Is that something that happens on your set as well, or are things being rewritten as you go and you have to learn new lines on the fly?
Sometimes it's a little different because you don't have like a live audience like you do like in a sitcom. If something doesn't land, you kind of know right away.
Right.
But most shows now, like the sort of multicam sitcom model is not really as popular anymore. So most shows are kind of being filmed like my show.
Right.
You know, sort of single cam, it's called.
Not in front of a live audience.
Not in front of a live audience, yeah. Even though like we do have multiple cameras, but like it's called single camera because it's, you know, the idea is that there's one camera and whatever. But sometimes we'll have alternate lines, like they will come in from the monitors and be like, hey, we don't think this joke is working, let's change it. And then you do it differently in the next take. We also have you know, a table read every episode. And so a lot of times what happens is we get the table read draft and then we do that table read and then it goes to notes and then they change things and then what we wound up shooting is called the production draft. So so that's kind of how it goes.
Now, were you always a funny guy? Were you always good with comedy and knowing how to do, like, did you always have good comedic timing, or how did you learn that skill? Was it a class that you took, like, on how to land jokes?
No, I don't think I ever took a class about like comedic timing or anything.
Really?
It's funny that you say that I'm a funny guy because I don't usually think that I'm a funny guy. Because I like one of the things I've been thinking about recently that I would love to do is like, wouldn't it be cool if I could do stand-up comedy or something? You know, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. I've never tried that, you know, so maybe one day I'll try it or something.
You got to try, right?
Yeah. But, I think it's just from theater, like from learning those like comedic moments in theater and allowing the joke to land and waiting for the moment. And then I think sometimes like when you're shooting too, you do one take and it's like you don't hear like the little laughter from the corner. Right. And then you like do it again and you do. And you're like, okay, so that one worked. And I'll probably use that one, you know? So.
And when they give you notes, Larry, do they say like, okay, you know, do they whisper in your ear, I want you to do it like this and like that, and I want you to change it for this next take? And are you able to take that direction on a dime?
Yeah, I mean, so in TV, this is like a universal TV rule. You have different directors. So like, you have the same producers, but different directors will come in throughout the season. And every director is different. So like there are some directors that we have on the show that are much more direct. And they're like, this is not working because of this, and I need you to do this. Or there's some directors that come in, they're like, it needs to feel more like this way. And then you sort of have to learn what they mean. And that takes like maybe a couple of days of working with them to figure out what they mean. Or sometimes you don't get any notes. Like sometimes you just have to think about if it's working or not, and if you want to try something different. Sometimes you do another take because of a camera thing. Like it's not always performance. Like sometimes
sound and
yeah, sometimes you do it, you're doing exactly what they need. And sometimes also like I go into work and I only have one line that day, you know, so I don't have to worry. But yeah, I think that is the job ultimately of like a television actor, especially, is like learning your lines and like knowing your lines is like I would say the biggest thing. And then if you have to change it, being able to change it.
Do you run? It's amazing. I think that's a really important skill for young actors to learn, because it's not so easy. You know, sometimes like when you've rehearsed a scene or rehearsed your lines in your head, it's hard sometimes to be fluid and flexible and to change those lines in the moment when you realize that's not working. Did that ever happen to you? I mean, I know it happened to me when I was a kid. If I learned something a certain way, it was not always so easy for me to change it. I would get stuck saying it with that particular cadence or rhythm.
Yeah, sometimes. But I think I think that's the amazing thing about television is like you have a new script every day. You
Mm-hmm.
never do the same thing twice.
Right.
So like in theater, you know, you've said the same lines for 3 weeks and then they decide they want to change it. Now it's maybe a little bit more complicated. But
Right.
like in television, I'm walking onto set, you know, being like, this is what I'm doing today. And you don't have the same attachment to the actual physical words. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
the words change every day.
Right.
And and the other amazing thing is like you always have to think about like where, you know, how would Big Red like say this line? Like I know him intimately.
Right.
So like
Right.
I can just be like, time to, you know,
This is it. This
this is
is
the
this is
line.
how Big Red. This is me. Well, you're very connected to your character then. That's great.
Yeah, and I think we all are after 2 years of like knowing the show and knowing two seasons of like these are who these people are, and also getting to go on the journey with them. Like I don't have to imagine who Big Red's girlfriend is,
Right.
you know, or who you know, not girlfriend, I guess, like Big Red's love interest or whatever. But
right.
you know, stuff like that, you know.
Right. Tell me about the most, I'm going to take some questions from some folks out here, but I want to know what's the most amazing and gratifying thing about being an actor?
Oh, I think it's just getting to see people that like are so moved by like what you've done. Like I've, you know, it's really cool to hear that people like really love this show, like really love like the you know, it really speaks to them or stuff like that. I think that's really cool.
Do you get recognized now, Larry, when you walk in the street?
Well, you know, now I'm wearing a mask when I'm outside, so maybe not as much. But pre-pandemic, I think definitely like there's, you know, people watch the show and it's really cool. It's really cool with this show specifically, just because I was the kids that are fans of this show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I see myself in those people that love this show. So
Could there be a more perfect fit? There could not be a more perfect fit. Now I'm going to put my glasses on.
Okay.
You're not supposed to do that. I don't have contacts yet. I need them. So bear with me. But folks, okay. So some people are just saying hi.
Hi.
And somebody wants to know, when is season 2 being released?
We have to be patient about that one. We'll know soon enough. Yeah.
Right.
It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming. I promise it's happening.
Dilifarmento says, I love you, Larry, with a heart.
Love you too.
Some people want tea, but I don't know how much tea you're going to spill today. I
don't have any tea. The kettle is cold.
Exactly. Now, somebody asked a great question. Brenna something BL. I can't see your full name, but tips for getting into character. What tips do you have for getting into character?
What I would say is the thing that always helps me is like be 100% on your lines and be 100% on like, if you're in theater, your blocking and your choreography, be 100,000% confident with those things. Because you don't want to have to worry about that when there's an audience or when the cameras are rolling. You want to be able to focus on the emotion of what you're doing. So I think a lot of times what happens in acting is like, if you're not as prepared, that's when people struggle with getting into it, because they are worried and anxious about the other stuff. And I think when you really are focused and you really have your, you know, that you're prepared, then you can really start to focus on the emotions, and then it starts to come naturally because you're not as worried.
I love that.
From the heart.
xx.j_olivia_m. I can't even. Can you tell us at least one thing about season 2, please?
One thing about season 2 is that we're doing Beauty and the Beast as the musical, which is announced
cool.
forever, a million years ago. And a recent thing that was announced is one of my best friends, Andrew Barth Feldman, who played Evan Hansen for a while on Broadway. He is in the show now. So that will be, I really can't wait for you guys to see that. Are
you guys filming already with Andrew?
He's been here, yes.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so awesome for you to have such a good friend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And he's wonderful too. What is your favorite song from the first season?
The first season. Well, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I love the Truth, Justice, and Songs in Our Key one, which is the one we do to save Miss Jen.
Yes,
Just because I think it's so theater. I
it
also
is.
love the Role of a Lifetime song with Lucas Grabeel, because I love those like songs that are like so theater, because I think that's like the heart of our show.
Absolutely. Um, what does that say? Going, I don't know what that says. Okay. Are you guys still filming right now? We kind of answered that a little bit, but you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we are the train is chugging along. We're doing the best we can, and we're doing a really good job. Like we are really, really getting there. So I promise for everybody that's like so nervous that it's never going to happen or whatever, like I promise it is going to happen, and it is just around the corner. Like it will be here sooner than you think.
Yay. Bella Feigin says, how do you go about memorizing your lines? Or how long do you get to memorize your lines? Excuse me.
So it's different. It's different for every scene, So basically what happens is like we do the table read, and then you get a production draft. It's called a few days later after they've gone through the notes and stuff, and then you get a schedule with like what days you're shooting what scene. So sometimes it's like, oh, I have to learn this one by tomorrow, but I have 2 weeks to learn this other one. For me, the best advice that I have is like learning lines is a muscle and it's a skill. It's not a talent. Like it's a skill, just like everything else. And so the more you do it, the easier it will become. So I can, at this point, look over a scene 3 or 4 times and have it pretty much ready to go. But I also know the character. I know the sort of style of the show. I know like how the dialogue will go. I know the words that are most commonly used, like stuff like that. We also have an amazing, I believe this has been talked about on the internet before, so I don't think it's this earth-shattering, but Jason Earls, who played Jackson on Hannah
Yes,
Montana.
I know Jason. He's taught for us. Yeah.
Yes, actually, I know that. I actually know that.
Oh.
He works on our show, and he is our like acting coach.
Yeah.
So he helps us as well. But of course, not every project is like that. So I think it's really repetition. I used to do just running lines with my parents. Like that was a great way. And if you don't have a friend, something that I do sometimes is I record like on the voice memos app on my phone.
Right.
I record the other lines in the scene. So I play out the scene and I record myself saying the other lines
Cool.
with space for my lines. And then I can play it back and then talk to myself as if it's like the scene.
As if it's really happening. Wow, that's very cool. Hi, Dylan Renard. Dylan says hi. He's also from Long Island and also very talented young man. I'm sure he knows who you are because you're probably a big legend on Long Island right now. You and Andrew, the two of you, both from Long Island. Yay! And I'm from Long Island too, Larry. So, but I'm not on High School Musical, the musical, the series. Some people want to know how many weeks left you have to film. Some people are just saying, Larry, you're amazing. I love you, and all of that. So, but I don't know. You probably can't give us the answer on how many weeks left you have because it all depends on the pandemic, right, and how things roll. Is that what we're saying? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the best answer I can give is that we are working on it and we're doing the best we can and we're getting there. Okay.
One more question from Guillermo. What are you most excited for this year?
This year in 2021?
I guess so.
Here's my marker of success of the 2021. If by December 31st, 2021, I have gone to Disneyland at least one time, then this was a successful year. I would say that's what I'm most excited for. Also, maybe seeing if there's shows by the end of 2021, that would be nice. Broadway shows.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, Juliet. And also, I'm going to mention that's my niece, and she loves you. She said,
hi.
Your favorite character on the show. Now, Nikki, another student of ours, said, what was your college audition process like when you were auditioning? We got to move it fast because I don't know how much longer we have on the live, but what was your college audition process like when you were auditioning?
My college audition process, I I don't know. I had like one monologue that I liked and a couple of songs that I used that my high school theater teacher helped me pick out, and a couple of them were like from shows that we had done in high school, like roles that I had played in high school. And yeah, I auditioned for like Pace and Wagner. I didn't do too many musical theater auditions in college, just because I knew that I wanted to be in New York and I wanted to like be auditioning and stuff like that. So I can't speak to that too much, but like it was just working with I think the most important part of the audition process is like making sure that you like the school, like making sure that you like the place that you're in, like not just the education, but if you're going to school somewhere, you're going to be living there for four years at least. So like make sure you like the neighborhood, make sure you like the state, you know, and so that was like the big thing. And then the other thing was really like working with my sort of neighborhood of people, like my high school theater teacher and my, high school like voice teacher, and like those people that were really there for me when I was younger. And just getting those things together. Like I think there's always people that you can find for support, and then just doing your best. Like
I love it. I love it. I know there's a lot of kids that are nervous because they've been auditioning, and so there's a lot TV about college auditions lately. But Larry, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I learned so much about TV, theater, your life. And is there one little fact you want to leave us with, a fun fact that we might not know about you?
Ooh, a fun fact. I guess that I play the bass. That's like something cool. That was my instrument that I did in like high school and middle school.
You do everything.
Yeah,
so you dance. You're now playing the piano. Someday you're going to be doing stand-up.
I was in jazz band playing the bass. That was my thing. I don't do stand-up yet, but like
not yet, but you will. You will.
Yeah. So that was my instrument when I was growing up was bass, and that's why I did jazz band and then tap dance. So they all sort of fed into the next.
That is so cool. Well, I love that you follow your passions. It seems that you really do. And that's a great sort of thing for young performers who are looking to get into this business.
Don't listen to anybody. That was the thing that I always learned was like, don't listen to anybody that tells you that you have to do one thing.
Right.
Like you can really do, on Monday, you can play the piano, and on Tuesday you can like write a story, and on Wednesday you can like draw. And all of those things are totally okay. And they all help. They all help you learn how to be a creative person.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I can't wait for season 2. I know all these guys can't wait too. So fingers crossed it comes sooner than we think.
I can't wait too. I promise I can't wait.
Thank you so much again for spending time with us today. I know you're a busy guy.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you on TV.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye, guys. Guys, we'll be saving this live, so no worries for those of you that asked. Jonathan, I never know what I'm doing with this. Oh, so guys, thank you again. Larry was amazing. Go watch the live. We'll put it up. And thank you for coming today. Miss you guys. Wish we could see you in person. Bye.